Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I would like to discuss some further intricacies of spool problems, namely the flexibility that students have in choosing the direction of positive accelerations basically after they determine the correct direction for friction in the problem. So we've seen a little bit before on a typical spool problem and how we deal with it. A lot of the principles are going to be maintained across onto this problem right here, but we're just going to see that it doesn't really matter what directions we choose for the accelerations to be correct, because we're guessing after all. I want to show that you're going to get the same result regardless of your choice, but by a factor of negative. So you'll know again if you made the correct assumption or not because of that factor of -1 appearing in your final answer, or just your answer being negative in general. So to get us started over here, the first thing that I would do in a problem like this is go over here and see what forces are causing torques right now in the system. There's only one. There's also friction, of course, at the contact point, but we need to determine its direction because the friction, remember, is the mediator of rolling. So it will act depending on what else is acting on the system. So we look at what else is acting on the system. We got the normal, gravity, and F. However, the normal and gravity, we've discussed in the previous video that they do not contribute a torque when it comes to rolling at all, at least with respect to the center of mass. If we take the pivot point there, that's what we will always do here. So it's only up to F to cause a torque if friction is absent right now. And we want to see again what is the direction of that torque. So we come over here and we place our pencil or moment arm in a way over here. If we do it, and I do it in your perspective, the force is pointing to the right, and we see that the pencil is going to rotate right now counterclockwise, which means the direction of the acceleration produced by this force alone, right? This alpha F will be counterclockwise, and this will hold here for all points that are part of the spool, including, of course, the very important contact point at the bottom over there. If we want to translate the effect of this angular acceleration into the linear world, all we got to do right now is multiply this angular effect by the distance that the contact point is from our center of rotation. That is a distance r. I hope you can see here that that is the big radius r. So this is now translated to the linear world. Now, we can ask the same thing about the effect of F in the linear world. So that's why I have a free body diagram here. It's missing everything but F, because again, we're not considering the effect of friction, and we are ignoring normal and gravity because they act in the y direction, and they're not really affecting the linear acceleration direction at all. So if I have my F over here, quite clearly, since there are no other forces right now, it's going to make the system linearly accelerate to the right. And these are our two findings here. So when we merge them together on the spool's picture, we see over here we got an angular effect, alpha F times R, and a linear effect AF. I don't know which one's bigger or smaller, but I know they're not the same size by necessity. And we are wondering where the friction should point right now. This is one of the easier cases because it's very obvious. For example, if we were to point it to the right, we're only going to boost these accelerations, and we're never really going to get them to go opposite to each other, as is required for rolling without slipping. So we know that we must put the friction to point to the left here. Now this begs the question, who is going to get more reduced by the action of this friction? Is it going to be this guy that's going to be like reduced and then flipped around, or is it going to be the linear guy over here? We don't know. So we reside to guessing. And my goal of this video is to show you that either guess you make is going to lead you to the correct answer, but by a factor of -1 if you've been doing the wrong guess. So what I've done here in the next set of images, we have to choose where the overall angular and linear accelerations are going to point at the contact point. So you have two options, right? You either make the angular one go to the left and the linear one to the right, or vice versa. And I'm claiming that it doesn't matter which one you guess as long as you're consistent with the consequences of that guess. So I'm going to go first with the left one and see what happens. If I choose the left one, we see the linear acceleration going to the right, which means, well, my positive x is by necessity toward the right, and then the plus y is for free. You can choose it wherever because there's no acceleration there. Then your alpha, to get this effect at the contact point here, you need an alpha that's pointing this way, which means we need to make this direction positive for the spin. Okay, so let's start analyzing now the torques in detail and the forces in detail, now that we have this information. Here's now the complete spool picture with the friction direction correctly inputted, everything ready to go. Remember from above that our plus sign needs to be over here in the clockwise direction for this choice of accelerations. So I have this over here, and I'm trying to analyze the torques. First thing, I think it's easy here to just look for the moment arms and what happens to those moment arms under rotation. So for capital F here, the moment arm is simply little r. And we can see that because the force again is pointing to the right, it spins our pencil over here. In your perspective, it spins the pencil counterclockwise. Counterclockwise, though, is going against what this guy is doing here, which means this is going to be a negative torque here. And then we can look at the same thing for the static friction by looking at the moment arm to the static friction, which is the capital R right now. And we can take a look at what friction is going to do in terms of rotation. We see that it points toward the left. So in your perspective, it's going to be going like this, and it's causing a clockwise rotation, otherwise known as positive in our system. So overall, when we write down our actual equation for Newton's second law in the angular world, tau net is equal to I alpha. Tau net here is going to be this torque, which we said is the moment arm times the static friction, and it's positive. We're going to take away the torque from this force, which is its moment arm, little r, times that force. This is going to be equal to I alpha. Now, I can go ahead and isolate for static friction, and this will leave me here with, if I do so, I alpha plus r times f divided here by capital R. This is what I'm going to get. This is going to be my first equation for static friction. I can now proceed that I've done the torques to do the actual forces on the system. I've got the free body diagram laid out over here. Remember that we've chosen linear acceleration to go to the right, which makes the right positive by default, and the other one is for free. We've made up to be the positive. So then we can write our net force statement for the y. There is no acceleration in the y. The spool is not being lifted off the ground or buried into the ground. And then in the y direction, we only have the normal and a negative gravity right now based on our system, which means that the normal is equal to mg basically. However, for f net x, we do have a linear acceleration. So we write the right-hand side as ma. F net x, though, based on our system of positives, we have F to be positive, and then we have friction here to be negative. And so we'll write our net forces like this. Our net force, I should say. And here we can isolate again for friction by moving it on this side. Move the acceleration on the left. We get here F minus ma. And that is our second equation here for static friction. Now, from here, I can set 1 equal to 2 since they talk about the same thing. And if I do so, I just got to copy here what the static friction is from the torques. Right there. And what the static friction is from the forces right here. And just set them equal to each other. Now, before I continue solving, I want you to notice that we have two unknowns. But we can't forget that the spool is rolling without slipping, which means that immediately after we apply the force F, its linear acceleration is equal to alpha times r. This is the condition for rolling without slipping. And we've mentioned, again, that at the contact point, A pointing on one direction and alpha R pointing on the other direction, they're going to have equal magnitude so that there is no net acceleration at that contact point. So we can replace right now either variable. I'm going to go ahead and replace this guy, the linear, by alpha R right now. I'm going to go ahead and solve for what that alpha is. So if I pass the R here on the other side, I get here I alpha plus RF is equal to capital RF minus MR squared alpha. And then I can proceed to group the alphas together by moving this guy here. So I'm going to get I plus MR squared. And then I'm going to group together the F's by taking that guy over there. And I'm going to have capital R minus little r times F. And then it's very simple to solve for the actual angular acceleration, as you can see. It's very simple now. One thing now we want to notice is what is the sign of this expression. Clearly, capital R is bigger than little r, so that's guaranteed to be positive at the top. And this is a summation of positive terms at the bottom, so that's positive, which means overall, this angular acceleration is positive. You know what that means? It means that you guessed correctly. You got 50-50 chance, and you guessed correctly that the alpha is going to be, again, in the clockwise direction earlier on. So if you want the linear acceleration, all you have to do here is take that alpha, really, and just multiply by capital R to get it back. If you want the linear acceleration at the center of mass, we know, again, this is literally just recycling the rolling condition without slipping, right? So I'm just recycling that, and it's very easy to find the linear acceleration. And you can see that because we're only multiplying by constant, this is also going to be positive since this turned out to be positive, right? So both of those directions of acceleration were correct. What happens if I wasn't lucky and I made the wrong choice, though? I want to show you that you have flexibility. So over here, if I made the wrong choice, so up here, if I chose these directions for the accelerations, it means that for the rotation, this would be the positive direction, which is counterclockwise, and for the translation, this would be the positive direction, which is to the left, leaving again the y for free. And I would have to resolve the problem to show you again. I'm going to do it a little faster this time to show you what happens. So for the torques, since you have this to be positive right now, the moment arms haven't changed. For F, this is the moment arm, and for friction, this is the moment arm, but now their signs have changed. Remember that this F is trying to spin you counterclockwise. This is now deemed positive according to our system. And the torque of F is going to be its moment arm, which is little r, times the force F, but now it's positive. Similarly, for the friction over here, it's still trying to spin you clockwise, which is now negative according to our system. And the torque is simply the moment arm of static friction, which is capital R, and then times that static friction. This is all going to equal, again, I times alpha. After all, that's really what we're solving for. Tau net is equal to I alpha. Now, from here, I can go ahead and isolate for static friction yet again. So I'm going to move this over here and that over there, getting me now R times F minus I alpha over capital R. This is going to be my equation for static friction this time. I can go and solve now the forces again, remembering that we are now moving supposedly to the left. So this is positive, and that's positive here. This is free. This is by force. It's opposite to the previous part. Okay, so if I go ahead and do the y, I'll get the same equation that the normal is equal to mg. And if I do the x, I still have an acceleration here. So I'm going to write the right-hand side as ma. And then the net force in the x, we see that the friction now is going to be positive. And it's going to be this force that is going to be negative this time. Okay, so this is equal to ma. And then I can isolate for friction one more time here. So I'll have ma plus f this time around. This is going to be my equation 2. To solve for one of the accelerations, I need to bring those two equations again together. So I'm going to go up here and steal the equation from the torques once again, down here. And then I'm going to steal the equation from the forces one last time, down here. And then I'm going to rearrange eventually. Don't forget, of course, that you're still rolling without slipping from the get-go. So A is equal to alpha R. And that means that I'm going to do the same replacement as before here, just to keep things consistent. And then I'm going to move that R again over onto this side, leaving me with RF minus I alpha equal to MR squared alpha plus capital RF. And then I can group together again the alphas here and the F's, leaving me with alpha MR squared plus I again. And then on the other side, I'm going to have little r minus capital R times F. And then I can finish this off by going ahead and rearranging both sides to isolate for that angular acceleration that I so desire. But this time around, notice that it's little r minus capital R as opposed to capital R minus little r. So now this is less than 0. Right? This is actually less than 0, and the bottom is still positive, leaving you with a quantity here that's less than 0. And it is literally the expression that we found before, but by a factor of -1. I can literally factor a -1 here, and it will be the same exact expression as before, telling me that I've guessed the acceleration wrongfully, and it needs to be in the other direction. But I found the magnitude correctly right now. I know that this magnitude is correct. So for A again, for the linear acceleration, you still just have to multiply alpha by R, and you're going to get something less than 0, which again tells you you should be choosing the opposite direction as true. And again, this was my goal to show you again that if you chose the accelerations oppositely, you're going to get, again over here, the same results, but by a factor of -1. That's all that's going to be different. So you don't have to stress so much over, if you actually chose correctly or not. You're going to see at the end. If you get a negative value for those accelerations, you know that you've done it. You've just guessed incorrectly, but you got the magnitude correct. So there's no way around this, obviously. And you have to be comfortable with this. And yeah, so it doesn't really matter. What really matters, if you see what I've done here, what really matters is as soon as I make those choices for the acceleration is that I am consistent with what is to be positive. If I had chosen, for example, this way to be positive right now, I would get the completely wrong answer at the end of the process, right? So you gotta make sure that your choices here reflect those positives and that you stick to those positives like glue. You don't want to mess these up because you're going to get the wrong answer overall. Not just the wrong sign, but the magnitude is going to be screwed up as well, and you don't want that. For example, you could have here mr squared minus I, and that completely changes the answer, right? So you want to stay consistent with those signs throughout the problem. This is all I wanted to show you here on this problem. Again, that flexibility that you have. I hope this has helped, and this is applicable to problems outside spools as well. And thank you for watching. Again, I hope this has helped, and if so, consider subscribing.